Rishabh Gulati. Some big breaking news coming in at the top of this bulletin. Is the biggest governance overhaul of the Narendra Modi government so far. We are being told by the Press Information Bureau of the Government of India that the government and the cabinet have decided to scrap all group of ministers and empowered group of ministers which were the primary decision-making bodies under the UPA government for deciding on policy. Let me go straight across to my colleague Atish Srivastav. Atish, this is a complete overhaul on the way policy decisions will now be made under the Modi government.
Well, it is going as per the expected lines because Narendra Modi, before he sworn in as Prime Minister, his office clearly told us that there may be a possibility of abolishing GoMs and EGoMs, and that's what they've done. The concept is that they believe that it delays the entire process, it delays the policy implementation as well, because, for example, if you have to decide on coal block allocation or you have to decide on privatization of airport, why have 5 or 6 or 7 or more than that group of ministers to decide upon? It should be the responsibility of that particular minister whose ministry is supposed to take care of that particular project. That is the concept. You need not delay it. They've abolished EGoM and GoM for speedy process and delaying cutting out the delay and also keeping the ministers responsible for a particular ministry. That is what the speedy governance is all about. Narendra Modi has been talking about minimum government and maximum governance. This is yet another step of that.
Okay, but the interesting fact, of course, is, Atish, that the model had been set up by the Manmohan Singh government and the UPA with a certain form of logic. And the logic was that allied ministries that have a say in the policy that's being implemented, allies of the government or the UPA, all of these people should have a say in the final policy that's going to be implemented. Now, how is this going to work now when that sort of collective thinking goes away?
Well, you have cabinet for collective thinking. You need not have GoMs and EGoMs. That is what BJP have been saying, that you have cabinet. There is one forum where allies or any other BJP senior leaders can express their views. You need not have GoM and delay it further. First, a policy or any kind of implementation of any project has to come to cabinet. Cabinet clears it, then it goes to GoM. GoM also keeps it. GoM clears it, or EGoM, which is an empowered group of ministers, that clears it. So it is unnecessarily duplicating and triplicating the effort. Why unnecessarily do that? There is a particular ministry. They should come with the project in front of the cabinet. Cabinet will have allies, will have leaders, and they'll, if at all any problem is there, they'll sort it out in the cabinet.
Okay, so the hope would then be, Atish, that the duplicity, as you were pointing out, the duplication of work, several committees looking at the same thing, how the process would actually work, was that a policy decision would be put before the cabinet by the ministry. The cabinet would then refer it to a group of ministers. A group of ministers would then sit on this, file a report back to the cabinet. An empowered group of ministers, the difference here being that an empowered group of ministers could take a decision without the cabinet's approval. They were empowered to make that decision. All that is now gone. The cabinet, of course, remains, Atish, that once we know that these GoMs have been scrapped, tell our viewers of several of the issues that these GoMs were looking at, which will now be put before the cabinet.
Well, there are certain issues like coal block allocation, or even Telangana was something which was looked at by GoM. Now, the whole concept is because they believe that if suppose they were interlinking, one project would require interlinking of ministry, and connection between each and every ministry. Finance ministry would be important, and suppose you need a project to be cleared. That now clearance process has to be taken by the relevant ministry. You need not have 2 or 3 rounds of meeting with different ministers. If you have an issue, if you have a project, go to finance minister or go to commerce minister, whosoever is the nodal financial agency, finance providing agency. So you can go there. Why waste time? That is what Narendra Modi and his close associates have decided, that unnecessarily delay should be avoided.
Okay, avoid unnecessary delay. We are getting in more reactions coming in from various political parties as well as people who have worked under the regime of the UPA with this GoM model. Atish, safe to say, suffice it to say, when it comes to key policies, you mentioned coal block allocations as one of them, but key industrial policies, a lot of people in corporate India would now be hoping that the decision making is going to happen a lot faster.
Well, they've promised a lot. India has come up with this, that there will be speedy implementation. If you remember, when we did that story on 10 points, 10 blueprint points for Narendra Modi, the implementation at a speedy pace was something which was there. And there also a review of a particular project was there. Transparency was there. So these are all processes which are moving towards that. scrapping EGOM and GOM is just to save time. Speedy process will be the focus because they've been promising a lot to this country. Now they need to deliver, and they don't want to be seen something similar to the last time that you delay the process, because they've been blaming UP2 for delaying and taking action. So now they can't be seen doing the same thing. That is why, at least as public posturing, they are saying that we are here for a speedy delivery.
Okay, all right, Atish Srivastava, we were hoping to get some reactions, but unfortunately our viewers will have to be left disappointed on what the Congress feels about its governance model being shunted out. Atish Srivastava, we'll leave it there.